Rich, I'm just going to shut your video off
Can you
until
hear
the
me?
meeting starts. Yes, George, we can hear you.
Good evening. Welcome to the June 7th, 2021 meeting of the Revere City Council. All rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Janino. Here. Councilor Guanasso.
Here.
Here. Councilor Keefe.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Morabito.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky. Here. Councilor Powers.
Here.
Here. Councilor Rotundo.
Present.
Here. Councilor Sereno.
Here.
Here. Councilor Visconti.
Here.
Here. And Council President Zambuto.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the regular meeting of May 24th, 2021.
All in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Calendar item number 3, a certificate of appreciation will be awarded to the Revere COVID-19 Community Response Network.
Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. So I just want to thank all the members of the Revere COVID-19 Community Response Network. It was a bunch of members. My computer. So I believe Dimple Rana is here to speak on behalf of the COVID-19 Community Response Network. I want to thank everyone who was involved and networked to help the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Dimple Rana. Go right ahead.
Good evening, City Council. Good evening, Revere. I'm the Director of Health and Community Initiatives, and Community Engagement for the city, and also one of the founders of the Revere COVID-19 Community Response Network, along with my colleague, Charlie Jafrida. Both of us, as part of the city's emergency response team, as outreach and wellness coordinators, we launched the COVID-19 Community Response Network last March, directly after the city's emergency response team was launched, to bring a community coalition of leaders in our community. These are leaders who are residents, business owners, faith leaders, the school department, and just leaders and stakeholders in the community who have brought a tremendous amount of skills and experience to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, especially when it began in last March. One of our participants, one of our members, Ina Tall, just the other night, had some really amazing words to share about the network. And where she shared that during the darkest time that we have experienced here in the city, that we remember, when we didn't know how we were going to respond, how we were going to help our neighbors, how we were going to help our fellow community members, the network came together and brought some hope to the efforts, and where we were able to come together and respond in such a way that we have done so much tremendous work by splitting up into different groups, such as our wellness team, where we've made over 6,000 phone calls, wellness calls to our seniors and other vulnerable residents. We've served over 130,000 pieces of meals, boxes, and bags of food. We've also responded with housing and financial assistance, communication efforts, mental health response, all the way to also having language-specific responses so that we're reaching all of our residents, including those whose first language is not English, and creating the Espanol network, and also the Brazilian network. And so I appreciate the recognition on behalf of the network, but also to provide the recognition to the rest of the network members. We have over 200 participants who have joined us since last March on and off throughout the year. And we've had a group of a little over 80 that have stayed with us. We were meeting 5 days a week, and now we're meeting once a week. And if anybody's interested in learning more, we were going to continue to meet, and please reach out to the Community Engagement Department. So thank you for this honor, and also on behalf of everybody who has participated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rana. You want to continue? Yes.
Calendar item number 4, a certificate of appreciation will be awarded to the city's emergency response team.
I would like to thank the mayor, his team, throughout the COVID-19 crisis. They have been very instrumental in making sure senior citizens, veterans, the entire team just really gave it their all and stepped it up and did what they have to do to make sure those who were vulnerable got the necessities they needed. So thank you. And I believe Lauren Buck is here to speak to us.
Ms. Buck, you want to continue?
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again for recognizing the emergency response team. So I came on to the team in late October, and they had, already been working hard since March of 2020 for, implementing all the things that needed to get done here in the city. So really, I'm just one tiny part of the emergency response team. Everyone, we met weekly. And in the beginning, I believe actually they were meeting almost daily to talk about things that needed to get done. And it was, an effort between the police, fire, Kim Hanton and the health department team and Dimple's team and other people from the city to coming together to try to get stuff done, DPW and I think everyone just really worked together to get things done in the right way and in a quickly, so we weren't getting held up with a lot of red tape. And it's been a real honor to work with everyone in the emergency response team. And just from when I started to now, that team is instrumental in helping the city get things done and to bring us to where we are with a lot fewer cases every week and a lot more vaccinations in arms. And that's, to help us get back to normal. So thank you so much for the recognition.
Thank you very much. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you.
Mr. President, may I speak?
Go ahead, Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. From Colleen Argenzio to Carol Donovan to Ms. Buck, Dimple Rana, Charlie DeFrida, the operation of providing food, medical services, oversight, and more importantly now vaccinations, the system, and I hate to use the word flawless, but appears to have run flawless. And not to recognize everybody involved would be a disservice. And I want to thank Councilor Morabito for doing such. This, I got to be honest with you, has been a rewarding thing to watch. And just to see, one of the things you say, Council President, is that serious words are, the government, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Well, I got to tell you, during this COVID-19, the government came and helped in the form of the Arrigo administration. And I got to tell you, they did a phenomenal job. I think that operationally, we've done better than any other community around us. And I got to just give my heartfelt congratulations to all that were involved.
Thank you, Councilor. I'm sure we all feel the same way. Councilor Morabito, who's next?
Calendar item number 5, a certificate of appreciation will be awarded to Women Encouraging Empowerment for holding a diaper and food drive for residents impacted by COVID.
Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. President. As everyone knows, we're in a global health crisis, and all of us are affected by it. But the most vulnerable population is affected harshly. Women Encouraging Empowerment has been supportive of vulnerable families from the start. They have supported, but during the pandemic, they have supported families with diapers, wipes, food, rent, and even cash assistance since the pandemic began. So I would like to commend all the members of Women Encouraging Empowerment. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Before I call Olga, Councilor Novoselsky has something. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I call them we. I've always known them as we since day one. I know they originally started on Broadway, and they've moved down to the Shirley Ave area into the Hyman Towers. And I want to congratulate Fatou, because she was the one that kind of got them down there, and Olga and the whole gang. I've been down there when they've been distributing all their materials. I've helped them store all their stuff, and they did a great job, and I thank Council Moravito for putting this in. They deserve it, and I hope they will, I know they will, keep up the good work. Thank you.
Now we'll call on Olga. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for this award. I really appreciate it. It feels nice to be seen. It feels nice that you all are recognizing our work, that this small organization, I said small because we are only 6 employees, which 2 of them are two of us are full-time. So, and we're being happy during this pandemic that it just came to put light or reveal the inequalities, pre-existing inequalities like food insecurity, housing insecurity, and we were there to provide this assistance. As Councilor Moravito was mentioning, we have provided over $135,000 cash assistance to families, rent assistance, market basket gift card to families who were struggling to get food to their tables. Diapers and wipes have never stopped distributing that. And I wish you can all come to our place one day where we are serving our community. And I really hope that this is the beginning of building this relationship with you all so we can serve our community together. I think this pandemic has shown us that there's not a limit where nobody was talking about anything else but just how do we serve our people? How do we help the most vulnerable one? And I am so happy to be part of this organization, and I will continue to look forward to meet you all in person. I have met you, some of you during COVID, and hopefully we'll continue to work, and I will appreciate another time to have talks and how do we support each other. Actually, we're struggling to find a space where we can provide childcare so we can continue serving these services that we provide during COVID. That is not our typical job. Our typical job is to provide other services that like English classes, computer, job trainings, advocacy work for our immigrant population. So I really appreciate another time to have these talks and really build this relationship and come together and work for this community. Thank you so much to you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Olga,
you
for
very
your
much.
leadership.
Thank you, Olga.
Calendar item number 6, a certificate of appreciation will be awarded to the RHS Femme Club for coordinating a menstrual products drive for residents impacted by COVID.
Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. So for those of you who don't know what the Revere Femme Club is or what it stands for, it's Revere High School Feminist Empowerment Movement Club. Emma Higgins is here to speak on their behalf, but I think we all can agree giving students a voice is very important. And having a group like FEM empowers them even more. Having any group that students can be part of to make a difference and voice their concern is great, because students are the change that happens tomorrow. So thank you to Revere High School for letting this group exist and being part of it as well. And thank you to all the members.
Emma?
Hi.
Go right ahead.
My name is Emma Higgins. I'm a founder and I'm one of the leaders of Revere High's Feminist Empowerment Movement, which is a student-led club focusing on gender equality in our community. And I can speak for all of us when we say thank you so much for the recognition. We're happy to have been able to serve the community with menstrual products in such a dire time, such as this pandemic. We'd also like to thank Dimple Rana, Ralph DiCiccio, Brittany Sau, and Daniel Osterman for being able to help us coordinate and distribute all of the products that we received through the drive. And we really could not have worked as efficiently as we did without their support. We plan to continue supporting the community in any way we can through this club that we have, and we hope to work with City Council sometime again. So thank you so much, everyone. It means a lot.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you.
So I have a kind of an announcement to make here. Unfortunately, we had two very important certificates to come up, items 7 and 8. Due to technical difficulties, those cannot be awarded tonight. They will be awarded on the 14th. So my apologies for any inconvenience to our dear friends, but they'll be next week. Thank you. Press them.
Suspension of rules, Mr. President. Take up,
On suspension of the rules, all in favor, all opposed? Mr. O'Brien. There he is.
Hello, Mr. President. How are you?
Well, thank you, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I know you're here to give us a presentation with some exciting news tonight, so we're looking forward to it.
I think the mayor was going to go first. Mayor, if you want to start off, Mayor, I'm more than happy to follow the mayor.
That wasn't on my cheat sheet, but well, Mr. Mayor, my apologies.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being able to accommodate my time and Tom's time and Tom and his team. First, I want to thank everyone for their support in making sure that we got to this point with the Suffolk Downs redevelopment. I want to thank Tom and his team for the incredible work that they've done, and everyone from city staff to residents who took their time out to be part of our development advisory group, and of course this council for their support of the vision at Suffolk Downs. Time and time again, I've called the redevelopment of this site transformational. I think I said it so many times over the last couple of years that I've tried to delete it from my vocabulary. And you know, we've always talked about the fact that this is about jobs. This is about economic growth for our residents. And we've talked a lot about the improvements that we would see in traffic, the improvements that we would see in the fact that we would have additional tax revenue to provide great services for our residents, and the improvements that we would see in public space and open space in that section of the city. And so with the careful planning that happened and the really strenuous work that Tom and his team and again the city have taken together, and that this council has taken, you know, we're very happy to have a project update here that has some good news, as the council president alluded to. And I'll let Tom dive into the details, but really what we want to say tonight to the council and to anyone who's watching at home is that Revere is now on the map for life sciences, for office and lab space, and we're proud to say that the first phase of this project in Revere will include lab and office life science space, and that's something that's a real testament to the tremendous work that you all have done to move us forward and support the vision that we have as a city and the vision that Tom and his team have. When we started this in 2017, the conversations around the purchase of the site, and now to fast forward to this point and talk about the inclusion of biotech and life science space, it's really an incredible feeling to know that such a powerful economic hub that will attract so many from all over the country will be in our city. And I'm incredibly proud of that. And I know the entire team here is incredibly proud of that. But I want to thank the council for their willingness to see that vision. And I want to thank the HYM team for their willingness to see the vision and have some of that vision to be able to create this great news tonight. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tom. And again, I really appreciate all of the time and effort that's been taken to make this what it is and what it will be, which is transformational.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Mayor.
Mr. O'Brien.
Thanks, Mr. President. Thank you about that. Sorry. And thank you, Mayor. From the very beginning, I think as everybody knows, Mayor Arrigo has been a wonderful partner to us on everything that we've been working on at Suffolk Downs. I think you, Mr. President, and all the members of the council have been also great partners with us. And certainly the entire leadership of the city of Revere has been terrific with us in terms of understanding our vision, understanding the specialness that we're trying to achieve for this site, and to make sure that this site really does become the kind of attractive commercial hub that we all know that it can be. So with that, I'd like to just kind of launch in. I'll go through relatively quickly. I know you have a full agenda tonight, and I'm honored that you would allow us to spend some time with you to give you an update. So I'm going to give you an update, and then I'm going to kind of tell you something that we're going to be working on as well. So go ahead. I think, Michael, next slide, please. So everybody, I think, understands the site and kind of where we are. We looked at this slide together numerous times when we went through the permitting. You'll also recall that we needed to, when we completed the permitting in Revere, we also needed to complete the permitting in Boston, and we needed to complete the state MEPA process as well. So we completed all that in the fall of last year. We're really excited about having completed that work. It was not easy to do. It's a lot of work to get done. I'd say the combination of the work that we did in Revere together with the work that we did in East Boston, we, over the span of the almost 3 years of work that we did here, we did over 450 different public meetings of all kinds of different types. And we were happy to do it, happy to answer people's questions. And certainly we're not afraid to stand back out and do more public hearings and talk about, what it is we're doing. But we did complete the permits in the fall. I will tell you, just as a quick preview, when we completed the permits in the fall, it really, after the appeals period was over, we really didn't finish everything until the end of the year, around the holiday time. And as we headed into January, we looked at one another and said, okay, given where things are from the pandemic perspective, one of the things that's clearly happened in Boston is that the life science business has expanded quite a bit. And the life science companies are looking for places for what we would call kind of high-end manufacturing of very specific kinds of pharmaceutical products that companies have been working on for some period of time. So it's kind of called pilot manufacturing, which has to be very tightly controlled. The buildings to house this are very expensive buildings. They're buildings in which these companies build quite a bit of expense into them to make them all work. But we think that site here at Suffolk Downs can be the place for exactly that kind of a use. What you'll hear from us tonight is our effort to quickly, on a dime, once we completed the permits in December, We quickly, in January, put the team together, and we've put together a design of a two-parcel project that we think can be well suited to life science. So here's the site as you know it. Here's the distinguishing characteristics, which are the two blue line stations at Beachmont and Suffolk Downs. And obviously, we're close to Revere Beach. We're very close to downtown Boston, close to the airport, all the attributes that you all know very, very well that we find really compelling for the site. Go ahead, Michael, next slide. So we are fully approved for 5.68 million square feet in Revere, which gives us a really substantial amount to be able to move forward. The one thing that, just to remind the councilors that we did was the council wanted half of the square footage in Revere to be commercial and half to be residential, which we certainly gladly complied with. In addition to that, the council basically said, if you want to do more commercial, you can. So we must have at least half of the square footage dedicated to commercial space, but we could not, without extreme difficulty or coming back before you, we could not convert more to residential. So the clear effort on the part of the council was to encourage us and push us to do as much as we could from a commercial perspective, which is really where we are. Go ahead, Michael. Next slide, please. So here's our project update. We have been hard at work, even while we completed the approvals. We've been spending a significant amount of money on the site. Go ahead, Michael. Next slide. We demolished all those horse barns that were in the foreground of that last photograph. We commenced that site work in 2020, demolishing all the existing horse barns, all the racing operation buildings that were located at the Beachmont end of the site. We also began the process of creating what are called surcharge embankments. So these are essentially surcharges that allow us to compact the soil so that we can build roadways. So we have been preparing for over a year for this first phase. We're spending significant amount of money, significant amounts of time putting all that in place. So we completed all the demolition of all 33 horse barns and racing operation buildings in April of 2020. In August of 2020, we had put all the surcharge embankments in good order, and those have been working toward us allowing for the future roadways to be built on the site. Go ahead, Michael. Next slide. This can just give you a sense of the trenching operation and the work that we've done on site and the grading that's been happening. There's been also, we're a site that you may remember, we're also looking to import soil from surrounding areas because there are some areas of the site that we need to raise above potential flood levels. And so we've been accepting soil import as well. This is always clean soil, obviously, from our perspective. We're not taking anything that is not clean soil, but we've been importing soil and we've been compacting. So you can see in that lower right-hand corner, the work of compacting, getting ready for street construction there, which lays out the street grid. Go ahead, Michael. So now I'm going to give you a phase one overview for most of the counselors who've been here. This will be a reminder of what we've done, but then there'll be some additional pieces that I'll add. Go ahead, Michael. Next slide. So here's our phase one. You remember. So in the lower right-hand corner is R1, which we, during the permitting process, we called that the Innovation Building. It's a commercial office building, approximately 60,000 square feet in total. It's really, we mean for it to be the entrance to the site, and we've designed it to be a really beautiful wooden building that has a kind of a wooden roof to it with a slope, as you can see. We've actually termed it the workshop now. So it's a building in which we are hoping to attract the kinds of companies that would be innovators, that would really set the table for more growth among life science companies. It's really a key part of, I think, what the council considered with us. We want that to be a great entry point, and we want the retail to be active as well. So that's about 60,000 square feet of commercial right at the front entrance to the site, right off of Beachmont Station. Then as I move to the left, then R9 is the first residential building. That's a building that would have about 24,000, almost 25,000 square feet of retail on the first floor, 475 units of residential. It allows us to start the process of creating a campus in which people would both live and work. And then if I go further to the left is the building that we are excited to talk to you about tonight. So that those two parcels R10 and R11, were originally envisioned as residential parcels. So when we permitted these with you, we envisioned those as residential parcels, and we're before you tonight, we don't need a vote for this. The permit that you folks, approved with us was farsighted enough to encourage us to convert parcels like this to commercial from residential. And so we do not need a vote on this tonight. But R10 and R11 are projected to be lab and office and manufacturing facilities. And we feel really good about this and the use that will be taken up and what it can do to create a commercial node on the site. I'll come back to those. I have more pictures of those in 1 second. And then as we go back over to R3, which is another residential building, the purpose of R3 and R5, the other residential together with the hotel at R2, those are meant to frame that first public space that's right there in the midst of phase one. So really what we're trying to do here is create a really great campus where people arrive from Beachmont Station, walk between the R1 workshop building, perhaps grab a meal, grab a cup of coffee, whatever it is that's right there. There's retail that will be right there at R9, then draw them into that public space, make this a really interesting campus. This is a huge development. This is, over 1 million square feet of development. This would be the largest single development ever undertaken in the city of Revere, but we're proud to do it. And again, anchored by the lab office at R10 and R11, we really feel great about both the jobs that will be created here, the tax revenue that will be created here, and the opportunity to create this really interesting campus that we think will be, really well received in the real estate world. Go ahead, Michael, next slide. So this is kind of an overhead of this, plan. So again, you can see the T station up in the upper right-hand corner. People would walk into the campus. R1 is the workshop. That's a commercial building. R9, we've named it the Amaya, which is a residential building. We've advanced design on that building. So that is now, we're essentially 100% construction drawings and ready to begin on that. R10 and R11, which is the life science building, we're advancing design on that as quickly as we can. These buildings are buildings that we want to begin this calendar year. So we want to start these in 2021 because we believe that we can deliver R10 and R11 by 2023, which is a really important aspect of kind of speed to market for life science buildings. And then R3 is that residential building that we described before. We've also named that. So the name of that building is Portico. And then R5 is the other residential building, and R2 is the hotel that we've long discussed. The hotel we're really big believers in, but obviously in the immediate aftermath of COVID, the hotel business is kind of trying to pick itself back up at this point. So it's probably not time for us to start a hotel in 2021, but we want to start that project as quickly as we can. So as I said, this is over 1 million square feet just in this first phase of development, which we're really, really excited about. Roadways, by the way, let me just look at the pieces down here. Roadways and infrastructure, we'd like to start this year. We've been working very carefully with the mayor's team and with the city team to start roadways and infrastructure this June. Site plan review for buildings completed in June 2020 as well, was completed already. And then our definitive subdivision plan we filed in January of 2021. So all these pieces have been filed previously. Go ahead, Michael, next slide. So here's a little bit more detail on that life science building. So these are, this is a big investment. This is probably $500 million of, it's like $500 million of commercial office building with lab and office and manufacturing, high-end manufacturing. So this is a really big investment that we're making in the site, but we think it's warranted. And we feel very confident that this is the kind of project that can make an impact on the life science market and make this site, make Suffolk Downs a really attractive place for the next group of companies to want to locate and make this their campus. So we're very excited about this building. It's about 500,000 square feet. The first 2 floors are dedicated to that high-end manufacturing that I described. Then the next 2 floors are dedicated to lab. And then the upper floors are dedicated to office and what's called vivarium space, which is sometimes live animal space that can be used for experiments on, drugs and things like that. So that's what this building, starts to look like. Go ahead, Mike, next slide, please. This is the entrance to the building. So, we're working very hard to make this a really active entrance and a very interesting design. So, the life science piece is, call it 382,000 square feet. Retail will be another 2,500 square feet. There'll be parking. The height is about 130 feet, 5 stories. And essentially it's a life science and biomanufacturing building. I told you floors 1 and 2 are biomanufacturing space. Floors 3 to 5 are lab and R&D space. parking on 2 levels below grade. All the parking is contained in this building. 2 loading docks with 9 loading bays, which makes this building really workable from these companies' perspective. And it's designed to allow the building to be phased as we construct it, which is really important as well from a capitalization perspective. Go ahead, Michael. So I also just want to touch on phase 1R roadway improvements. So remember, in this first phase, there are a series of really solid roadway improvements that we'll be making as well. Go ahead, Michael. So again, we've been working very carefully with the mayor's team. And so remember that we will make improvements along Revere Beach Parkway and Winthrop Avenue. There's some work that happens, kind of Revere Beach Parkway in Harris Street, and then working our way down Winthrop Avenue toward Donnelly Square and Beachmont. So we'll make these improvements as part of the effort. So remember, on Winthrop Ave, that brings a bike path and new sidewalks, new street trees, really beautiful addition to Winthrop Ave, as well as improvements at Donnelly Square. We've been working carefully with all of you, with the mayor's team, also with Councilor McKenna, to ensure that these are well received by the Beachmont community, and we're happy to meet in addition to folks to answer any other questions that people may have on these improvements. But we're really excited to make these improvements on Winthrop Avenue as well. So these are off our site, but it's part of our obligation to make these, and these are commitments that we made to you previously. Go ahead, Michael. So thank you. I know I moved through it kind of quickly. I wonder if I could just go back, Michael, to slide number 8. I do want to point out one quick thing. So so with the council will remember, no doubt. Actually, Michael, why don't you go to the one just after this? The next one. Try this one. Yeah. Okay. So what the council will remember is, so our plan does encourage the creation of commercial office and commercial lab, which is what we're doing with R10 and R11. So we do not need a vote, and we're not asking for any vote from the city council tonight. But what we have identified for the mayor's office and as well for Councilor McKenna, who's our home counselor for this particular purpose, the R10 R11 life science building, you'll see, extends past where the homes are on Washburn Ave. And essentially what we're saying is there was a small setback on upper floors that was included for the potential of the residential buildings along this stretch. This building, these commercial buildings need to kind of be rectangular. And so it could be that we'll be coming back to you in the future for an amendment to the existing zoning to allow for that setback to be removed just for the purpose of this particular building, not for R9, not for the other pieces along Washburn. So that's the only thing I wanted to point out. Again, we're not asking for a vote today, but us, we're always very direct. We're in the no surprises business. We don't want to surprise anybody. And, so I just want to make sure that I pointed that out with all of you tonight. And with that, Mr. President, I'd be happy to take any questions that people may have.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Like I said, it was exciting news. Some of us knew a little bit about it before but we couldn't release it. So I'll call on the first guy that had his hand up, is Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is more a comment than it is a question. Mr. O'Brien, I want to thank you for bringing life sciences to Revere. This is something that myself and other people have envisioned for decades, and this is exactly what the city needs. It's going to bring a new life to our community. More importantly, it's a no-brainer for those people in technology, whether it be life sciences, AI, or what have you, to come to a community like Revere that is willing to work with developers like yourself, but more importantly, companies that you bring to the table. Excuse me. Quite frankly, this is remarkable, and I want to thank you. And I want to thank you on another level, which I think you know about. And thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor. The one thing I would add to your point, Councilor Rotundo, is we've been working really carefully with the mayor's team to make sure that these jobs, the jobs in these buildings, as well as the construction jobs for people who build these buildings, are connected to Revere residents. As you may remember, we signed a project labor agreement with the building trades unions in Boston to build these buildings, and we've been working with the building trades to create more opportunities, particularly for women and people of color, to join the building trades. It's a great career path. It's a terrific way to earn a living. And so we're working very carefully with the mayor's team to make those connections for construction jobs in the building trades, which are permanent jobs, which are great jobs, which carry benefits and health insurance and all those things. And then in addition to that, we're also working even at this early stage to prepare training, particularly around soft skills for people who could also become permanent employees in the jobs in these buildings when completed, which we're really excited about.
I totally agree with you, Mr. O'Brien. I know that Mayor Arrigo is for the working person. More importantly, people like Rich Petty and other people who look into the future for the community of Revere, who have been stalwarts for improving the working conditions for the people of Revere. I clearly see this as one of the big steps up, and more importantly, not only for the construction trades, but also for the life science trades. And I hope in the future, more people from the city of Revere will be hired and utilize their education to actually work in these facilities. But thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor Rotundo. Councilor Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Tom, for the presentation. It is truly, as the mayor said, it's truly transformational, and it's unbelievable. The presentation was great. I have one question. The life science building, that is going to reduce the residential units by how much again? You might have mentioned it. I just might have missed it.
So essentially what we're doing is in the first phase, what we're doing is we're reducing the potential of residential units. I apologize, Councilor Visconti, I think I have the number directly in front of me right now, but perhaps Michael can help me out on that, but we're increasing the percentage of commercial in the first phase. I think we were, in the original permits, I think we were like 80% residential and 20% commercial. Over time, the permits say that we must be 50-50 once we complete it, but the city was kind enough to let us ramp up the residential first and then do the commercial later. Essentially what we're saying is we'll do way more commercial in the first phase. I think the number, is certainly well ahead of 20%, that's for sure. I don't think it gets quite to 50-50, but I think it's quite more like, 40-60 or so. So it's a substantial increase in that first phase in terms of the commercial, which we're really proud about.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. O'Brien, it's nice to see you. It's been a while, and I'm glad that you're coming with good news. I think a lot of people watch, and they always think that, sometimes we don't see the trees through the forest. And this is one that, from day one, you've been very transparent. You've worked with all the councils, you've worked with the mayor and the staff, and you've done nothing but fulfill the obligations that you've started with so far. It is still early in the phase, in the stage of this entire development, but you have lived up to your end of the bargain so far, and I have nothing, we have no reason to believe that you won't continue to do that. So it's been really great so far. I just wanted to commend you and thank you. Like Councilor Rotundo mentioned, I hear it from people in Boston, I hear it from people in Revere, I hear it from neighbors. They said, hey, when are we, I have a steel worker that lives 2 doors up. I hope she's watching. She sees me every morning and she says, I want to work in Revere. I'm sick of driving so far to work. And I said, it's coming real soon. We just signed HYM just signed, I believe, the largest PLA in the state's history. So I'm happy to say to her that she'll be hopefully driving some piles and putting some steel up over in Suffolk Downs. Thank you very much. Thanks for being a great partner, Tom.
Well, thank you, Councilor. We really appreciate it. I think you can tell her that I think our job in downtown Boston has a record amount of Local 7 iron workers on that site every day. I think we've got over 100 iron workers on that site every single day, which is unusual for a project that's a lot. So we're very proud of all the work that we do across the board in the building trades, and we're all about trying to make more connections for more people in Revere to the building trades. It's a really, really great career.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Serino.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. O'Brien, it is good to see you after so long. It's been a couple of years. But I just had a quick question. I think it's great that we're adding the Life Science Center, and I appreciate HYM's efforts to secure that. Just a quick question of clarification. On one of the slides in the presentation, it had alluded to 10,000 residential units. I just wanted to be clear that that was site-wide, both East Boston in Revere, not total on Revere. Is that correct? That
Correct.
it's total?
That's correct.
Okay.
Most of the units, yes, most of the units are in Boston. So I think it's something like 7,500 of those units are in Boston, and the remainder are in Revere. So the bulk of them are in Boston. As between the two cities, Boston preferred more housing, and Revere has clearly preferred more commercial. And so we're working very hard to try and accommodate those desires on the part of both cities.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. I appreciate that, and I know many residents of the city do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. How are you, Mr. O'Brien?
I'm fine, Councilor. Nice to see you again. Hopefully you're doing well.
I am. Quick question. In the later phases, are there still plans to do an indoor event venue and an outdoor event venue?
We're working on it. So you can see actually the outdoor event, part of the outdoor event venue is here. You can kind of see it as well. So, I mean, one of the really interesting parts of, as we complete this R10 and R11 building in first phase, we would do more infrastructure. So we would extend the street and build this park and this outdoor venue. And then we're also working toward the potential of an indoor venue as well. We think there's a really interesting music theme here on the site. So, you know, one of the things you may hear from us sometime this fall is, you know, could there be a really interesting outdoor venue that would be really, you know, kind of a great match for people to have, you know, terrific, talented acts come and perform. There is a history, not only of obviously horse racing, but there is a history of, you know, really interesting musical performers on the Suffolk Downs side, as you may know, from the Beatles to everybody. I can't think of any of the other names. So we'd like to follow that a little bit and adopt music in both an indoor and an outdoor performance venue. But yes, those are still plans for us.
Thank you. And as far as an indoor venue, is that
So
still
we're
in the
still
works?
still working on that to kind of think that through. Obviously, that would be a smaller, you know, kind of more intimate setting, but you know, similar to small facilities that exist. There's one in Cambridge, for example, that is quite popular in Harvard Square. There's, you know, so it's kind of smallish, maybe 1,000 people or so, but we believe that there's a really strong market for that.
Yeah, because
and it really.
When I speak to residents, a lot of residents ask me about that, the event venue. So it's something that's enticing to the residents. So I would really like that to stay in the plans in the future. So that's just my input. So, but all the phases, looking at the pictures, it looks great. So can't wait.
No, I appreciate that,
for it
Councilor.
to come to fruition.
In fact, in one of our first meetings with you, and I think one of our first meetings with Councilor McKenna, you know, that was one of the points that was driven home to us, that it's hard to find a relatively large venue in Revere for a wedding reception or a baptism reception or, you know, something like that. So we've taken that to heart, and we have those are, you know, part of our vision that we'd like to bring to the site.
Thank you. And I know with Councilor McKenna, she's on top of things. So you don't want to do the wrong thing with Councilor McKenna. She'll be on top of everything.
Thank you.
And that's a compliment.
Thank you, Councilor. Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councilor Morabito. I would just like to say it's been a pleasure to work with you for the last 4 years. We've established a great working relationship. It's so easy to talk with you. You have such an easy going manner, and your gentleness is just wonderful. And you hear me, which is great. And I'm so excited for this. I was so excited to hear about the life science building that's coming. And I just want to say thank you for always being transparent, for making me there, always including me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing this coming about and continuing our working relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. As long as Toretto's makes a cup of coffee for us, we can meet there and go over things that are happening.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. President. What I have noticed, Mr. O'Brien, is in the absence of not seeing you this last year and a half, you're not wearing glasses. And so,
I did the eye operation.
So
I get sick of wearing glasses, so I did the eye operation.
It seems that you're trying to make yourself look younger, and that's great.
That's hard to do. That's almost impossible for me to do.
After review of the plans, and obviously I voted for every single request that you and your team have made, I get some sort of a inquiry every single time that I meet many of the residents of Revere. And they ask me this one question: how long is Suffolk Downs going to be able to stay in that location so that the bettors can go to that site? And I say, I don't know. But this is a great opportunity for me to ask you, because you must know. So what is the response to that, so I could give them an intelligent answer?
So we've extended the lease on a year-to-year basis for at least another year for the betting operation to continue at the clubhouse. As far as we're concerned, in the short term, we're more than happy to have that continue. Obviously, we have a great relationship with Sterling Suffolk, which is the entity that controls the betting operation. They're really great people, and so we've enjoyed working with them. Obviously, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to purchase this site if not for our relationship with those folks. I think that the one thing I would point out is Sterling Suffolk is starting to think about their own future and where they might want to be, and it could be that they may want to be someplace else. They're starting to think about other ventures, sports gaming, and things like that, and so they it could be that they're certainly going to be here for the next year, but it could be that sometime afterwards things get some question marks get added on that. But we've been great partners. We love having them. They bring activity to the clubhouse, which is great, and so we're happy to have them.
Well, we're certainly thankful that you've coming forward to our community with this wonderful development, and we're very, very pleased to hear that we're only getting a quarter of the residential properties in the plans. So that makes us happy also, and I think the Life Center is a wonderful idea, and I think it's a great plus for our community, and I applaud you for bringing it forward and investing in our community, investing in Revere, and we look forward to this coming to fruition ASAP, and good luck and nice to see you again.
Thanks, Councilor. Great to see you as well.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was one of the councilors, and there were many of us that were very concerned as to the potential negativity that a project like this would bring to the community. From the day one, I had full faith in your project. I think at one point we discussed the potential for a commuter rail station at the back of Wonderland, which is only, I believe, 3 stops away on the Blue Line from your project. And that station would allow for thousands of residents from the North Shore to come in and participate in shopping, entertainment, dining, many of the things that you're going to be offering the residents and the people outside of Revere. So I want to say this to you, that I'm completely pleased with your presentation. I expected no less based on your track record, and that was one of the reasons that I initially supported this program. I think that people now that are out there have been out there criticizing certain development in the city with regard to apartments. I think that sort of puts that criticism to sleep, because with all of the people that are going to be coming into your facilities, working there, I think they certainly will be many people that will be moving into the city. The monies that they will derive from their employment will be going into those apartments for renting. I for one, have 2 things I'd like to thank you for, and those are, one is my grandson, and the other one is my son-in-law, who are currently part of 107. I have three grandchildren that are 103, and I know they'll be working there at some point, if they're not already. And again, I want to thank you. I think this is something that has been long overdue in the city of Revere, and I want to thank the mayor and his team for working with you as the city council did to make this a reality and a positive step in the right direction for the city of Revere. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. Before I make a couple of brief comments, I want to recognize that we have the Chief of Police here tonight, Chief Callahan. I feel very protected when the chief is in the audience here. I think next week it'll be more important. Okay, I'm probably the only one that's used transformational as much as the mayor, but I truly believe that, and I know it's factual. But this is just so exciting. I want to shout from the rooftops that we got life science coming to Revere, and we have HYM to thank for that. And it's just so, this news is like so exciting that I'm hoping a lot of people are watching this meeting tonight, because the naysayers for years have been saying that that could never happen, this could never happen, that could never happen in Revere. Well, guess what? This has happened in Revere. This project is unbelievable. And when does a developer come back when he has to guarantee 50% commercial and starts off with more commercial and eliminates residential? And what's it for? It's for life science. I mean, it's just such a win-win proposition. I'm just so excited about this. I almost can't control myself. So we thank you. And I know most of my colleagues talked about how transparent, what I call it is how honest you are. You're a man of your word. Your reputation is impeccable, and you live up to it every time. So we thank you for this, and excited to see the shovels going in the ground this year, and just couldn't be more excited. I think I have some residents that are looking to speak here, so we'll call on, what do we got? Ron Clark, name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Ronald Clark, 90.
Can you try that again, sir? We're having some trouble with your audio. Try it again, Ron.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Bob, for the presentation. I just have one real quick question, although I find it very exciting. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Breaking up,
now?
sir. Try it again.
How about now? Hear me now?
One more time. This is one of the reasons we'll be happy to be back live next week, so we don't have these glitches. You want to try again, Ron, one more time?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Can you hear
heard
me now?
that. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Anything?
Yeah, we hear you. Ask the question, sir, please. Unfortunately, we're going to have to move on, sir, because we can't seem to get your audio here. But if you want to submit the question in writing, I'm sure that we'll get you the answer from Mr. O'Brien and his team.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we hear you. Now, this is the last try.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you, Bob, for the presentation. Yeah. Is there any special permitting required for a life science building?
I'm sorry, sir, your Wi-Fi is not working for
Is there
us.
any special permitting required?
I'm sorry, we're going to have to move on. We got a lengthy agenda, and we don't want to continue with this one since we
Can
can't
you
hear
hear me
you.
now?
Oh. I'm going to give you one more chance to ask the question to see if you don't break up. Go ahead.
My question is there any special permitting required for the life science building?
No. That's the short
Okay.
answer.
All right, thank you.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Thank you for the great presentation, and thank you for...
Thank you, everybody.
Great. We'll
Great.
talk soon.
Great to
Take
be with
care.
you. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. See you.
Back to the regular order of business.
Calendar item number 9, hearing called is ordered on an ordinance amending the departmental revolving funds table.
Mr. Viskey, I know you're out there. There he is.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening.
You can hear me, I hope.
We can hear you clearly, sir.
Excellent. Sorry, I don't have anything nearly as exciting as Mr. O'Brien. However, as part of my duties here as auditor, I'd like to introduce and speak favorably about the revised departmental revolving fund table that has been submitted as part of the requirements of Mass General Law. Any changes or updates to this table that has been ordained needs to come before the council and the public for a special hearing. And you do have before you a list of all of the departmental revolving funds authorized or hope to be newly authorized by the council. And much of this is the same as you've seen when we've originally done this back in 2018. However, there are 3 new revolving funds that are being introduced and hope for your consideration and approval. One of them is a revolving fund for the Commission on Disabilities that will allow for donation fees and fines of Commission on Disability items that can be repurposed for expenses related to support the efforts of Commission on Disabilities. We also
Mr. Viskey, if I can interrupt you for 1 second, I'm not
Yes,
sure.
sure.
I'm not sure I announced that this was a public hearing and this is for proponents. So just to keep the record straight. Now continue.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
And again, Richard Viskey, City Auditor, 281 Broadway. Again, speaking in favor of the updated departmental revolving funds. Like I mentioned, most of these are just tightening up some of the old language that we originally adopted in 2018. However, there are 3 new revolving funds, Commission on Disabilities, which I just spoke of. We have modified the water and sewer meters revolving account to not just include deduct meters, which are being phased out of the water and sewer department, but basically all meters that the city has to charge for, whether it's new meters for businesses or deduct meters that will be hard piped into residents. We just want to modify that language to allow the broadening of the fees and the uses of that particular revolving fund. And finally, working with the ISD department and Mike Wells, he had asked me to introduce a revolving fund for emergency and after-hour inspections, where there are certain residents and businesses that may not be able to keep a normal Monday through Friday appointment. He is proposing that if his staff is asked to do inspections on the weekends, that there be a fee charge for that service, and that fee would pay for the overtime and the related cost for such inspections. However, most all the other revolving funds are ones that you should be familiar with, but happy to answer any questions with them. And again, I'm here to speak in favor of these, this updated table. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other proponents, people in favor? Hearing and some. Ralph DeChico. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Council President. Ralph DeChico, Revere Commission on Disabilities. Just wanted to speak in favor of revolving account for the Commission on Disabilities that Mr. Biscay has talked about.
Thank you, sir. Any other proponents, people in favor? Seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Any opponents, people opposed to this proposal? Seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Councilors. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Mr. Vasquez, regarding the emergency and after-hours inspection table, is that something that when our guys are called in, it's usually like a fire or something like that? Is that reimbursable by the insurance company to the applicants, the people that had the fire?
I suppose it could be, Counselor, but the way this was presented to me was more so for typical inspections that are for, let's say, developments or residents that may not be able to be home or be available during normal business hours. And the ISD director would like the opportunity to inspect those on the weekends. However, it would be difficult just to absorb those costs within the operating budget. So his proposal is to charge a fee for that service. And again, with the hope that the money in will offset the money out, and we can be a little more adaptive to some of the needs of some of the residents and businesses and developers in the community.
That's understood. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Hearing none, we'll move to no citizens. Okay. Okay, Ways and Means.
Calendar item number 10, communication from the city auditor requesting a transfer from the Water and Sewer Stabilization Fund to the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund.
Mr. Biscay.
Thank you. This particular one is maybe would have been better served if we read the next one first. However, in developing the 2022 budget for the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, we are proposing that there would be a 3.9% increase in the water and sewer rates for the upcoming 22 budget. This rate increase, along with the proposed $2 million stabilization fund transfer, will ensure that the revenues that will come into the city for water and sewer will cover both direct and indirect costs of the operation of that department. We did realize 8 new bond orders that are come on the books in fiscal year 22. That debt service has increased by $1 million, and the fixed costs of debt service, along with the water and sewer assessments from the MWRA, are the driving force that force us to increase our rates. So it's about $300,000 for every $300,000 increase. The rate was projected to go up 1%. We didn't think it was a great time to propose double-digit water and sewer rate increases. We've been very diligent in funding our water and sewer stabilization account for extraordinary and unforeseen events, and the mayor, along with the administration here, thinks that it's prudent to stabilize the rates by using some of the $7.5 million we have tucked away over the years into our water and sewer stabilization account. So I'm here to speak on in favor of that and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Any questions from the councilors? None? Ways and Means.
Calendar item number 11, communication from the city auditor requesting city council adoption of water rates for fiscal year 2022.
Mr. Viscay.
Yeah. Good evening again. Like I just stated, as you know, the budget has been delivered to you today with upcoming hearings over the next several weeks through Ways and Means. However, it was important to get before you a proposed water and sewer rate increase. Again, 3.9% is the amount that we are proposing to raise these water and sewer rates in order to cover all of the increased fixed costs of debt service and water and sewer assessments of the operation. We are trying to work with CDM, our consultants, on developing a multi-year rate study and a multi-year rate proposal in fiscal year 23 and beyond. However, in order to keep up with the debt service and other fixed costs of the water and sewer department, unfortunately, we're before you to ask for a modest increase in those rates to ensure that we don't have any revenue deficits for the operation.
Thank you. Any councilors?
Councilor Zambuda.
Oh. Councilor Rotundo, I didn't see you there in the corner.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. President, to Mr. Biscay. The question I have is that as we are increasing the rate, in considering that we got $30 million from the Fed, my understanding is maintaining a water and sewer system is to also maintain public health. Is there any way that we could use some of that money to offset the cost of this increase for our residents? And has the mayor and yourself given any thought to that? Thank you.
That's a great question, Councilor, and certainly given a lot of thought to the multitude of ways we can use this $30 million to help any way we could in the city. Unfortunately, we haven't got enough data to exactly know what is or isn't acceptable with regard to these dollars. We do know that water and sewer infrastructure projects are certainly acceptable use of the ARPA funds, and that consideration, I think, will take more effect in future year rate increases, et cetera. But for the here and now, I don't have enough information that I could just appropriate or consider using those dollars without knowing for sure that it would be a legal use of those funds, Councilor.
Through you, Mr. President, can we investigate that before we increase the rate of the homeowner? My understanding is that the MWRA, the state DPH, monitors fecal output of COVID-19 in order to register. So I can see a link there. Now, whether the Fed looks into it in that manner, I don't know. But if we could have the city look into that before we increase the rate on our homeowners, I'd like to look at that too. Thank you very much. And thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor. Again, Mr. Viscay is telling you that they're still giving us rules on how this money can be spent. And I'm sure that if that's allowed, it will be taken into consideration. So
thank you.
We will hear more about this later, but it may not be for this year. So Ways and Means.
Calendar item number 12, communication from the city auditor relative to the fiscal year 2022 budget.
Mr. Viscay.
Good evening again. Before you tonight is a binder full of documents that will help you dissect the fiscal year 2022 budget. I did insert a memo into the sleeve of that that explains that there are a few documents that will be submitted to you to be inserted into that binder, including the 5-year financial forecast, as well as the capital improvements budget and 5-year CIP program. However, the numbers for all the departments are submitted in there, as well as the revenue forecast, the debt forecast, and all the other documents that you typically receive as part of a GFOA budget. I'd also like to note that inside the table of contents at the back is a notification from the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, which is how we govern our business here in the finance department. It's a nationwide group that kind of steers policy and best practices in municipal finance. And I'm happy to report that we have received the GFOA Distinguished Budget Award for our 2021 budget. And again, that was for the 8th straight year. And we intend to continue with that award program and try to adhere to the policies and procedures and best practices that I'm also excited to inform you that we've been working with a software company called ClearGov that is going to allow us to raise the budget to a new level with regard to the access you can see online. It's an interactive budgeting tool that we have been modeling over our fiscal year 22 budget, and not really prepared to turn it face forward at this particular point, but I'm hoping by the time the entire budget document is completed, I'll be able to turn that front facing for the council and the residents to actually have a more interactive and dynamic approach of looking at the overall budget. But for now, you're stuck with the hard papers and the binder to cull through as part of your bedtime reading. But happy to answer any questions on that either now or throughout the budget process. But happy to have that delivered to you for tonight's council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Viskey. Any councilors want to discuss this now, or it's all, obviously, we're going to be getting into the budget hearings very shortly? Mayor Arrigo, I didn't see your hand up, sir.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank Rich and his team for their tremendous work throughout the budget, and our entire leadership team, the department heads, and all of the staff that go into making sure that we have an award-winning budget. I just wanted to thank them and look forward to the additional conversation that we'll have around the budget this year. And again, I can't thank Mr. Viskey enough for the time and effort and the hard work that he's put into making this budget an efficient, effective one that gives us the opportunities that we saw earlier tonight around attracting life sciences to our city. So thank you, Mr. Viskey. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure we all share your sentiments about the CFO. Councilor Visconti, you had your hand up. Is it?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Viskey and the mayor's office for presenting the budget. I look forward, as Ways and Means Chair, to discussing the details of the budget and the next couple of weeks. So thank you, and look forward to those meetings. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ways and Means.
Calendar item number 14, motion presented by Council Vice President Visconti and Councilors Janino and Serino, that the mayor request the DPW to install a ramp on the side entrance of the senior center. This is a matter of public safety for the seniors utilizing this facility.
Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just noticed that that side entrance for the senior center didn't have a ramp just in case of an emergency, and thought it would be important for the safety of our seniors to have it installed. So if that could be done anytime soon, that would be great. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Visconti. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to commend my colleagues, Councilor Serino and Councilor Visconti, for putting this motion in. This came about the other day. We were at the senior center for their one of their first brunches, which was great. We haven't been there, haven't been a part of it. We're at the barbecue, we're standing in the backyard, and we noticed that there was only one handicap accessible entrance in the building. So it made it very difficult for seniors, especially during COVID and wanting to be outside, to actually get to the back of the building from where they were coming from the front or from inside to go outside and enjoy the backyard. So after speaking with our wonderful director of the senior center, we thought this would be a great idea, and it seems like an easy enough fix. We just need a little bit of lumber and some labor, and hopefully get this done for them so they can enjoy that. And our senior center should be accessible for all seniors, and we're just trying to work to make that a little better. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Councilor. Ralph DeChico.
Thank you, Council President Ralph DeChico, Revere Commission on Disabilities. I just wanted to clarify that I had got a self-evaluation and transition plan for all the municipal buildings for ADA requirements. And I believe the requirement only needs one handicap accessible ramp at the front of the building. And unfortunately, I do not believe a handicap ramp can be placed in the back. It's not simple of just getting lumber. Unfortunately, it's not just as simple of getting lumber and installing a ramp. There has to be certain radiuses and certain pitches. A lot of also with infrastructure of the door work has to be modified. And every building just has to have one handicap accessible entrance. So it does meet the qualifications of having handicap accessibility with the front ramp. And there is a transition plan and self-evaluation plans that are accessible for all the municipal buildings that will clearly state what can and should be done at any of these buildings.
Thank you. Councilor Serino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't going to speak on this motion because I thought Councilor Janino and Councilor Visconti did a fine job explaining. But basically, to respond to Mr. DeCicco, we're not asking that it be added, because of the ADA or for that type of reason. We're asking mainly because in a post-COVID time, the new director of the senior center, I think, would like to conduct more activities for the seniors outside in their parking lot. And having only the front ramp would be very difficult for a lot of the seniors to go totally around the building and out, especially if they're just going outside to get food and then go back inside. So this is more, not so much to bring it up to, code or anything, but as an added feature for our seniors so they can use the parking lot without having to go around. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Serino. I agree this is a matter of convenience and not a matter of code. So on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 15, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the City of Revere investigate the feasibility of placing photovoltaic systems on all public buildings utilizing the latest technology. Tesla is a prime example of current technologies.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. This speaks for itself. Quite frankly, as we look throughout the country, the utilization of photovoltaics to offset the cost of increasing electric bills is helping. But more importantly, if anything showed us during COVID, if God forbid systems went down, having a backup system like photovoltaics and, for example, the Tesla wall systems would be a great thing for our community. But again, I leave this in the hands of the mayor and his team and hope that they would look at this favorably, as well as the superintendent of schools. It's just a thought, and I hope that would get forward accordingly. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 16, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the City of Revere investigate the feasibility of increasing the use of electric vehicles within the city's automotive fleet by 10% every 5 years, or as technology permits, to attain 50% of electric vehicles by 2030.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the city clerk, I have an error in that. It's supposed to be 2050. But as we take a look at what other communities and other states are doing, this is something that I think that we could reach. And more importantly, as we take a look at what the various manufacturers are doing, they're moving towards electric vehicles. So that said, I greatly appreciate passing of this motion. Thank you.
I'd like to see where we're going to generate the power from. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 17, motion presented by Councilor McKenna, that the mayor investigate the feasibility of utilizing American Rescue Plan funds to transform the old Beachmont Fire Station into artist lofts and an art gallery. This fire station is the oldest station in Revere and is currently being used as a storage facility for the fire department. To preserve this historical building, the city must act now or risk losing another piece of Revere's history.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Beachmont Fire Station is the oldest fire station in the city. It's an historical building, one the Beachmont community and the city would like to keep since we've lost so many landmarks. On a Zoom meeting with the mayor on how to utilize the American Rescue Plan Fund, the fire station came up in conversation. The station has been a storage facility for many years now, and the outside of the building is in disarray. 2 years ago, the Beachmont Improvement Committee, Al Baker and I, looked at the building and tried to utilize it. Is something wrong? I'm sorry. Okay. We tried to utilize it, but because of the funding, we were unsuccessful. Now with the American Rescue Plan Fund, we now have the opportunity, or might have the opportunity, to create and save this beautiful historical building by maybe creating art lofts and an art gallery for residents to have a place to view visual artwork and artists to have a place to show their work. So I would love to see this happen. I don't know if it's feasible or not. I don't know if it comes under the plan of the American Rescue Fund. But we don't have anything like this in Revere, and we do have our neighboring towns and communities, cities, have galleries and places for artists to have lofts to create work and galleries for them to show their work. So I would love to see this happen. I know the Beachmont Improvement Committee would love to see this happen, and Al Baker would love to see this happen. Plus, we have the Public Arts, the newly Public Arts Commission, which would love to see this happen also. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor McKenna. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to commend my colleague, Councilor McKenna, for this motion. You are so thoughtful about your community and about Ward 1 and the art community and just taking spaces and really coming up with creative, appropriate uses for them. So I think this is phenomenal. I'm excited about it. I'd love to see the feasibility of it because it really is unfortunate that, number one, it's a beautiful space that's not being used to its full capacity. And it's a very residential neighborhood. It's a very tight neighborhood. So this would be a space that wouldn't be traversed all the time. It would be, you know, for appropriately for events or for showings and really give people a space to be creative. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. So I really want to commend you and support you in this. Great job.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joanne, great work. And I hope we can find the money for this. This is a perfect use for that building. It's dynamic. And more importantly, I think it will bring people together. So I support your efforts in this and you've got my vote. Back to you, Mr. President, on your prior comment about where they're getting the electricity, nuclear, gas, you know how it works. Couldn't help it.
Better change regimes in order to get that, pal. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I saw this. I said, what a great, great motion. We have a building that's not being utilized other than storage, and it is a beautiful building. It is historic, and I understand, you know, I know it's going to cost money to do it, and then hopefully the mayor will find it. But through the grapevine, I heard that there's people trying to raise money for the arts through a arts fund to try and put a percentage on construction in the city of Revere to take anywhere from 0.5% to 2% of the permit fees or whatever it costs to put into this fund to help do something like this and other events also. But I think it's a great thing, and you got my vote on it. Great, great, great motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Novoselsky. Anybody else? On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 18, motion presented by Councilor Sereno, that the City Council order to a public hearing the attached ordinance, an ordinance establishing rules and regulations relative to the West Revere Dog Park.
Councilor Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I realize that on a night that we're talking about water and sewer rates and the budget, this may seem like a trivial subject, the West Revere Dog Park, but an issue has arisen whereby people are breaking the rules of the dog park. So at the dog park, there is signage with clear rules and regulations about what you can and cannot do in the dog park. Particularly, dogs need to be limited to 2 dogs per handler. And what's happening is doggy daycares and pet sitting services are bringing their dogs to the dog park, and residents of Ward 6 are coming to me saying, gee, I would like to take my dog to to the dog park before work in the morning, but these doggy daycares are bringing their dogs to exercise them in the park. So I thought it would be as simple as calling the animal control officer and asking him to just simply enforce the signage. What I didn't realize is that signage does not equal law in the city. So he said that in order for him to enforce, we need to create an ordinance and put some teeth into it so he can begin enforcing the rules. So that's basically what is in the ordinance. All the ordinance is basically everything that is on the signs and just the rules of the park. So if we could maybe expedite this through the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee, because it is an issue that's persisting and residents have been asking. So if we could expedite it and within, a few weeks to a month, if we could get it out of Leg Affairs and move on it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, and it's a great motion, and I think that it's unfortunate that we have to make a law, but the one thing we can do, if these dogs are not licensed and registered, they can be fined right now before we get this in place. But we're going to order this to a public hearing.
Calendar item number 19, motion presented by Councilor Powers that the mayor request MassDOT to adjust the timing of the traffic signal at Route 1A and Revere Street to allow more time for vehicles on Revere Street to take a left onto Route 1A. President Zambudo is recused from this motion.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. There isn't a day that goes by when I don't hear complaints about the traffic backup on Revere Street. And this basically is caused by the Mass DOT and the operators of the garage at Wonderland. They're trying to move traffic out of there in a fast manner, and I can understand that. But it should also be equitable with regard to the citizens that live in the city. They shouldn't be sitting on Revere Street waiting in traffic for that green arrow to change, which only allows them, 5 seconds, 10 seconds to move onto 1A heading north. So I think that Mass DOT has to take a little more consideration for the residents that live in this city and do something to monitor the traffic down there that's going left on 1A to get to the North Shore or their neighborhood down in the Point of Pines or Oak Island. That's very important. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Powers. Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that's also, it is important, but I think also important is that the right side of Revere Street, we eliminate those cars that are parked there, because I travel that section of Revere Street maybe 10 times a day, and I see 3 or 4 cars that absolutely back up the traffic all the way up Revere Street because there's 3 or 4 cars that are parked there. We should have no parking on the right-hand side of Revere Street from the corner to Sagamore Hill. Once we do that, we'll alleviate the congestion that comes down. Just go there, take a ride down there tonight. You'll see. Cars are jockeying around. They're blocking the traffic going down Sagamore because there's no way for them to have 2 lanes because there's people parked on Revere Street. They should not be there, and I think in conjunction with Councilor Powers' left turn, we get that done, and I think finally we'll get a solution. But, Mr. President, I will bring this out, that I mentioned this about 4 years ago in Boston, and I don't think I got much of a response from it because they were talking about the congestion at the intersection of North Shore Road and Revere Street. Well, this is a major portion of it. How do I know? I travel it all the time. These people that are making the decision don't travel it all the time. And so they don't see the necessity of removing those cars that are parked on the right-hand side of Revere Street. Once we get that done, Mr. President, we'll get a smooth flow of traffic.
Thank you, Councilor. I think my suggestion would be that somebody put that before the Traffic Commission and make no parking from that. We can do that. That's under our control. So do you want to amend your motion?
Yes, Mr. President, we can amend the motion, but my understanding is that there are, right now, not supposed to be cars parked down there. Maybe the enforcement is a little more needed down there. Thank you.
Well, let's do both. Put it before the Traffic Commission, that no parking from Sagamore to
Mr.
the
President,
Mr.
Mr.
President,
President, point of information.
North Shore Road. What,
Just as
Council
a,
Novoselsky.
you know, I think we have two different entities we're working with here. One is MassDOT and one is the city traffic. So I think they should be separate motions.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah,
Mr.
right.
President.
Council Guanasos is a separate motion. Okay, great. On both motions. All in
Mr.
favor, all
President.
opposed? So voted.
Tony?
I apologize. I had Council Rotundo, I didn't see your hand up. Go ahead.
That's okay, I'll pass on.
Okay.
I can hardly hear you, Mr. President. Can
Ron,
you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't hear Ron. Ron,
Hello? Hi.
go
Ron
ahead.
Clark, 98 Whitnam, Revere, Mass. Hey, just a comment on that Mass dot. I think John Powers' motion is excellent. I just would like to add in that down on the North Shore Road in Oak Island, if they could look at that crosswalk, you take about one step before it turns red and starts flashing. So you get the white, stop walking, and then within one step, it actually changes to flashing. If they could get them to look at that at the same time, that would be a big help.
Thank you, sir. Council Rotundo, do you have something?
Yes, actually, I do. On Revere Street, the issue that I see quite a bit is number one, Sagamore Street has a time in which you can turn down there, and that causes congestion and so forth. There's limited times in which you can turn based upon the ordinance. But the other issue is that when buses take the left going on to Revere Street from North Shore Road, if the traffic isn't backed up from the light by at least 50 feet, 9 times out of 10, it almost looks like they're going about to hit each other. A similar problem down on Park Ave and Broadway as well. And
All right, Council, I got to stop you. Unfortunately, we already voted this motion, so it's a moot point. Okay, thank you.
Calendar item number 20, motion presented by Councilor Powers that the mayor request municipal inspections to direct the owners of Wonderland property to clean the high grass on the lot of land they own at the corner of Shawmut Street and Dunn Road and any other properties they own on Dunn Road.
Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the grass on that particular lot of land that is partially owned by Wonderland, and it's over 1.5 feet high. And there are other lots in between the houses on Shawmut Street that are also, and have been over the years, owned by Wonderland and need to be cleaned. I mean, I know they have some sort of a maintenance department down there. I know there's an operation down there parking cars, so I'm sure they have enough money to get an outfit in there to clean those lots. And I hope it would be done very soon because, you know, mosquitoes, that type of thing, rain setting in those lots, they need to be cleaned, and they need to be cleaned within a week or so, definitely. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Anybody else on the motion? All in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Calendar item number 21, motion presented by Councilor Powers that the mayor direct the police department to monitor speeding on Beach Street from Bell Circle to Central Ave. This neighborhood is home to a funeral home, pediatric clinic, and a public health building. There have been several accidents in recent years, and strong speeding enforcement and safety signalization may be required to prevent future accidents.
Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've had calls from neighbors down there who are concerned. They come around that circle at Mahoney Circle, AKA Bell Circle, and they fly up Beach Street. And right in one particular location, there's a funeral home, there's a pediatric clinic, and then there's another health clinic on the other side of the street. And there's pedestrians constantly that have to cross there because their car is parked on one side or the other. We need to monitor this more closely. We need traffic down there. Maybe we need a blinking orange light that would indicate to motorists driving along that, caution, slow down. There's people crossing here. And that's something that really needs to be done. But I think the enforcement is just as important. I don't care who it is. If they're breaking the law, if they're speeding, if they're putting people's lives in danger, give them a ticket, give them a citation, because maybe that'll wake them up a little. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the City of Revere investigate the feasibility of permitting the delivery of medical or recreational cannabis as permitted by state law. Further, that the city charge a $1 to $2 service fee as permitted by law.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Currently, throughout the state, it is allowed to have cannabis delivered to your home. And my understanding is that they're delivering it to residents of Revere at present. My thought is if they're doing so and we can charge them a fee, very much like we're doing with rideshare, I can't see why we should not be doing it. But again, I'm not sure if the regulation allows for it, but I'm sure Paul Capizzi and someone within our legal department could find that out. If that is the case.
George, we're having some trouble with your audio.
Now?
That sounded better, George. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. Very simply put, the ability to purchase cannabis recreationally or medically is now done over online, and more importantly, it is delivered and it's regulated accordingly. And my thought is, if it's being delivered to the community of Revere, then we should at least obtain some type of financial reimbursement for the service, just like we do with ride shares and so forth. And if it's permitted by law, then I'd like to obtain that money for our community. Pretty much, I believe our legal department will be able to find that out. And again, obviously, I'm asking for the feasibility of it, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilor Powers that the mayor request the Board of Health to inspect the property at the corner of Oak Island and Beverly Streets and take appropriate action to have the owner clean the property of overgrowth and debris.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a lot of land at the corner of Beverly Street. Actually, it's a couple of lots of land at the corner of Beverly Street and Oak Island Street. It's completely overgrown. The people that own the property have shown a complete disregard for the people that live in that area. They almost have to walk out on the street because the weeds are overgrown onto the sidewalk. And when I tell you, they're 3 or 4 feet high. And the interesting thing is the people that own the lot don't even live in the city. They live in Marblehead or someplace. And I'm sure this wouldn't be allowed in Marblehead, and I don't think it should be allowed here. I think that they should be held to the same standards as other residents in the city who have violations. So, I know they were before conservation. They were told they have to have a stormwater management program before conservation will take any action, and that's fine. But in the interim, let's not leave that lot sit there. It's a disgrace, actually, and it needs to be cleaned. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilor Keefe that the mayor request the police department to install surveillance cameras on Amasa Street to monitor illicit activity and illegal dumping.
Counselor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I brought this up a few times in the past, and I just wanted to bring it up again in hopes that we might actually get this done. I know that, we don't want to invade people's privacy, but I used to have a really special resident that lived on the corner of Amasa and Mountain Ave, school committee woman Rizzo, who was always able to reach out and let me know when there was lots of extra items dumped on that side street, because it's common. It's dark. It's secluded. It abuts Route 1. People pull up. They throw mattresses out. They do really bad things in their car that the neighbors don't really appreciate. So, having a little extra surveillance, I know we have the technology. I know we have the equipment or the ability to get the equipment. This is just one of those no-brainer streets that we should have it on. So I appreciate some support in that, and I know the residents would appreciate it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Keefe. Counselor Rotundo.
This has been an ongoing issue since when I was the Ward 4 councilor. Patrick, I echo your concerns. More importantly, the technology is there. They have the surveillance cameras that are up on Park Avenue. That was part of the issue at McLeavy up there, where they were doing drug deals and dropping mattresses and so forth. Everything that you can think of that happened up there is happening on Amasa. More importantly, I mean, whether you're on Proctor, Oakwood, or Mountain, you can drop the cameras in any one of the 3 poles that are up there. So this is short money to get the surveillance that's requisite. And more importantly, the people that it's going to support are the people that are being infringed upon. So I support this 100%. Chief Callahan, I hope you're still there, and perhaps we can get the funding to you to put the cameras up and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Calendar item number 25, motion presented by Councilor Morabito that the mayor request the DPW to install a blind driveway sign on the sidewalk of the even-numbered side of Beach Street between 344 to 350 and face the sign in the easterly direction towards Bell Circle. Signage will caution cyclists and oncoming traffic of the blind spot at the corner of Thurlow Ave and Beach Street.
Counselor Morabito.
311 is taking care of this issue. They responded quickly. The motion speaks for itself. Thanks.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So voted. Counselor Keefe has a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know the City Council realizes this, but tomorrow I wanted to point out to the residents of Revere, tomorrow is a very special day for the City of Revere and for a number of the students at Revere High School. Revere will be celebrating its class of 2021 graduation. And I just wanted to congratulate those students. It has been a historic year and a half for those students who really lost out on a majority of their junior year and most of their senior year with in-person learning. But I can tell you that, and I know that a lot of you counselors realize this, and me personally experiencing with my own daughter that's graduating, they have grown in different ways, and they have become stronger because of it. But this is a really special class. As we know, with what's going on in the world, became very outspoken leaders. I'm not going to single anyone out, but they have been such a tremendous class, and I'm very proud of all of them. So I want you to celebrate tomorrow, and for the residents in that area over by the stadium, I know that it's an inconvenience for a few hours. Madam Clerk, I know that you live close by, and there's lots of cars and traffic and parking and kids walking all over, but let them enjoy this time. They've given up a lot, and let's celebrate with them. So thank you very much, and congratulations, class of 2021.
Thank you, Counselor. If I can take a moment of personal privilege, if I have the latitude of my colleagues here. Revere kicked off Pride Month today with the raising of the Pride flag, and I just want to say it was a wonderful ceremony, and it made us all proud. And to our friends in the gay and lesbian community, just so you know that we're all with you. Thank you. This council will stand adjourned until June 14th. I apologize, we're back in the chamber. There will be no remote access. So it's June 14th, back in the chamber. No remote access.